Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished entrepreneur from Pune, India, a fellow member of the YPO, Shilpa Pophale. Shilpa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashutosh.
Shilpa is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Electronica Finance Limited. She was conferred with the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year by the World Women Leadership Congress in 2014. And as I mentioned, she's a fellow member of the YPO. So Shilpa, let me start by asking you, tell me about Electronica Finance.
Basically, Electronica Finance is a part of a group which was founded by my father around 55 years back. And all of them, there were three promoter directors, all of them were technocrats. They started off as a manufacturing activity, very small activity here in Pune. The customers, because we used to manufacture machines. And the customers used to be requiring financial support. In those days, of course, banks and other institutions were not so interested in supporting these customers. So that is how Electronica Finance came into existence. We are in business of financing MSMEs for more than 30 years now. I've been working in this organization for more than 30 years. Of course, started as a captive financer to support group companies. We tried out multiple things. Our major focus has been on manufacturing MSMEs. So we generally support manufacturing MSMEs for their asset requirements, typically machines. That is the major focus area for us. In addition to that, if they want to purchase industrial property, that is something which we do. These are major activities. In addition to that, we also started around 5-6 years back. We got into what I call as rural business, and that is very exciting because we started with financing very small businesses into rural and semi-rural India, and that is when I like to say that is when we saw the real Bharat. Earlier, we were into manufacturing segment, or customers were more organized. There, it was more of a very different customer class. Last 5-6 years, we have been financing very small businesses into rural and semi-rural India. So these are the major activities.
Very impressive.
Very exciting.
And I guess you're in the right place because Pune and around it is such a major manufacturing hub with MSMEs everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, you have grown your assets from 495 million rupees in 2005 to 37 billion rupees in 2024. What was some of the reasons that drove this amazing success?
As I mentioned earlier, it was always, we were very clear that our focus has to be on financing MSMEs. There were two reasons. One is we ourselves as a group, our genesis also was as MSME. We were a very small manufacturing unit, and from there the group got diversified and into multiple other business activities. So MSMEs, we thought that MSMEs is something which we understand. I strongly believe that you should do what you understand in lending business, because unless you understand your customer segment, it's not really easy to support those customers. So that was the focus area. So we were very clear about our strategy of being into MSME financing. That was one. Another was we always kept on looking at other opportunities. So when we started, I mentioned that we started financing our own group company machines. From there, actually we expanded into multiple other manufacturers into the same segment. That was one. Another was that we also started with financing into some other industries. Like, for example, we used to be into metal related industry earlier. Then from that, we diversified into printing, plastics, textile. All those became manufacturing verticals for us. So I think what has helped us is really be very focused on what is your core, what you understand, be really customer centric. And that I try to say that many times, that it is in the true sense customer centricity.
Well said.
So you do whatever is right for your customer. If you keep on doing that, if you keep on supporting your customers in the best way possible, then customers keep on coming back to you. So in manufacturing segment, more than 40% of our business comes from existing customers.
Very well said. And Shilpa, what are some of the significant financing challenges faced by MSMEs in India?
Most of the times what happens is customers, if they're first generation entrepreneurs, I'm talking about manufacturing MSMEs first,
Yeah.
because that is the major focus for EFL.
Mm.
Most of the times customers do not have collaterals to offer to banks, because if they're first generation entrepreneurs, they start off, they will invest whatever small capital they have into acquiring the basic setup. And then when they go into a growth phase, generally collateral security is something which banks will ask for, and that is not available. So there are generally challenges for the customers in terms of growth of the business. So we like to say that we come into picture at that time. We generally don't fund startups, because startups is not our forte. But what we do is we provide growth capital to the customers when they want to expand their business. Same is the case with if they want to purchase an industrial property. Again, banks are not really eager to fund the customers if they want to purchase industrial property. So that is another opportunity which we do. So these are some of the challenges which MSMEs face.
Right.
More than that, the biggest challenge MSMEs face is working capital. Generally, working capital is a constraint, because customers, their funds sometimes get stuck, their payments do not come on time.
Yeah.
At that time, they need working capital support. So these are the challenges of MSMEs. I'm talking about manufacturing MSMEs. When if you talk about other segment in which we are, which is small businesses, there basically it is really working capital which is required to purchase whatever stock they want for their shops. Or many times these are consumption loans also, because there are family requirements, family emergencies, or a marriage in the family. For that also they need funding. What we do is we assess the customer, means formally and informally both, and try to take a decision which is best for the customer.
Very well said. But the other aspect of, when you're putting so much of your money out into the market, comes the whole issue of risk. How do you handle risk when you're lending to so many organizations? What do you do to mitigate risk?
For risk mitigation, basically, it's all about, in my mind, it's all about customer selection. So if you select the customer right, means around 25, 30 years back when we were starting off, we used to get this question a lot, that you are in a riskiest segment, because you are into MSMEs, these MSMEs are vulnerable and all that. But our experience has been that if you select the customer right, and if you are right in your credit assessment, then generally these customers will not pose a problem. If at all there is a problem with their business, maybe because their orders get cancelled, or they have some other challenges, they will generally, typically they will come back to you and they will say that, please help us out. This is a challenge we are facing. So can you do something to support us? That is one. Another is we rely on 100% on the asset which we are financing. So I'm talking about, again, manufacturing MSMEs here, because the machines which we finance, we are very, very sure about the resale value of these machines. So if at all there is a problem and the customer cannot pay our installments, what we try to do is we try to dispose of the machine or the asset very quickly and recover the money. And that most of the times that happens amicably. So we try to tell the customer that if you are not able to pay, let us sell this asset quickly and come out of the problem, so that you will also not face the challenge. In terms of other segment where we are into rural segment, there generally we have the residential property of the customer as a collateral. There the biggest advantage is that is the highest value asset of the customer, which is generally with us.
Right.
So even if, and the LTV we call that, which is loan to value ratio, that is very low. So we fund generally 35-40%. So if at all there is a problem, it is very easy for the customer to dispose of the asset, the property, and repay back to us. So in my mind, that is these are the major areas on which you have to be focused as a lending organization.
Well said. Well said. And Shilpa, what is the role of technology in helping to improve access to finance for the manufacturing MSMEs?
Technology is absolutely critical, and nowadays, means especially if you take period after COVID, the things are changing dramatically. And in a way, we always say that it is not very easy for an organization like us to cope up with technology developments, because technology keep on changing so fast. It's not very easy to keep track of things and see which technology which is coming up is relevant for us. But to serve the customers in a much better way, most of the documents which we require for financial assessment, those are now available through various APIs, where directly those documents can be drawn if the customer gives the consent to us. So the time which our person has to spend in terms of collecting the documents, that has reduced very drastically. And this will only improve further. So we can never be faceless. We don't want to be a digital lender, because that is not in our DNA. We are a secure lender. We always look for collateral, at least some collateral security, either in form of machine or property. But all other challenges of serving the MSME customer, which is actually going and collecting documents, assessing the customer, all that processes are getting digitized now. And that is happening with almost all organizations, even so with us also.
Very well said. My other question is that, you mentioned you try and securitize your lending with either the asset or maybe someone's property. What happens in the, when you are doing your credit assessment and you find that the documentation is not strong, or they don't have a formal credit history?
Yeah. So that's the most interesting aspect of what we do. So I take the example of MSME into manufacturing segment first. Typically, what happens is the customers, most of the times, they are not financially literate. They don't understand the importance of having a good balance sheet. So many times when we start off, we have to get into a kind of consultancy mode and make the customer understand what is the importance of having a strong balance sheet. But typically, customers are much more concerned about how much tax is getting paid. So many times there are certain other methods of assessment which we have to apply. Let it be assessing the electricity bills of the customer, or actually assessing what is the turnover of the customer, which may not reflect in the balance sheet. So all those processes are very strong for us. We have a parallel assessment method. That is how I can describe it. Same is the case with rural and semi-rural MSMEs. There, nowadays, with all the digital payments happening and all that, some payments will be, of course, reflected in the bank statement. But still, a lot of the economy is dependent still on cash. So these cash transactions are not reflected anywhere. So what you have to do is you have to actually go and meet the customer, assess what is the real income of the customer, also speak to various other people in the same community and assess if the income what the customer is projecting is right. Because customer also should not borrow too much and get into over indebtedness. That is also another challenge. So that you have to be very cautious about, because that creates problem for the customer also and for the organization also.
Great
so
response.
There are various methods of assessing the customer in terms of formal assessment.
Great response. But the other perspective I wanted, Shilpa, from you was, there's a big thrust on supporting women entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And in the last 15, 20 years, or last 10 years particularly, a lot of support is being given to encourage women entrepreneurs, because there are a lot of benefits of women entrepreneurs. It's like that old saying that, you educated a woman and you educate a whole family. But when it comes to EFL, what are some specific challenges that women entrepreneurs face? And how do you support them?
I would say that we don't do as much as required in this segment, specifically because when we talk about manufacturing MSMEs, still entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs in manufacturing MSMEs are very, very few. And that is a we see now we see sometimes the second generation coming in, or who are girls in the family, and they want to join the business. But that are still very few. So most of our customers, because we are in manufacturing segment, and manufacturing segment in a way is male dominated, we see very few customers who are women. But that is not the case when we talk about rural, semi-rural segment. So I'll give you a wonderful example.
Yeah, please.
We have one customer, and the customer actually I have visited that customer personally, and a very small rural area, maybe around a village of maybe 1,000 population. There, that customer, she said that my husband is not there right now. You can ask me whatever you want, because customer was working as a maybe driver or something in some industrial unit. But this lady, she said that I have a small kirana shop in front of my house that is being managed by me. There is a small vegetable garden where I grow my own vegetables. I sell those vegetables. I take care of my entire household, whatever. And I'm very grateful to you because you have funded me. Because of that, I could put flooring into my house, and my effort of managing my house has reduced very
How
considerably.
amazing.
So there are fantastic stories like this about women entrepreneurship, especially into rural, semi-rural. But on the manufacturing side, our customers, women customers, are very, very few, unfortunately.
Thank you. You also, now, when I was preparing for my conversation with you, I was fascinated to learn that you have introduced products like micro lap and rooftop solar loans.
Yes.
How have these products impacted the MSME sector? And tell me about these products as well.
Yeah, so micro lab, when we say the customer I was describing a minute earlier, that was our micro lab customer. Micro lab is a loan which is hardly at, around 3 to 4 lakh rupees loan, which is offered to the small businesses into rural and semi-rural areas. Here, the why is it called micro lab? It is a small size loan, and it is still loan against property, because the customer's property is generally mortgaged to us. The end use is generally business. Because if the customer is running a kirana shop or a tea stall, and he wants to increase his business activity, or he wants to buy one more shop, or he wants to purchase raw material for his business activities, that is generally the end use. It is a fantastic segment, because if we talk about villages in India, there are more than 6 lakh villages number. So it is tremendous market opportunities, a huge size. So there are various opportunities in this segment. So we have just we are still very small, because we are present in only 4 states. We have 175 number of branches in this segment. We are present in Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Telangana right now, and we plan to expand, of course, later on. But this segment is very exciting for us, because 40% of customers in this segment are new to credit. They have not borrowed from the formal sources in the past. They may have borrowed something from microfinance institutions, but formal credit, they are not into the system. So in a way, we are helping these customers, getting them into the formal credit system. So that is an exciting opportunity. We are doing very small still, because there are multiple other organizations. So this is one exciting opportunity I was talking about. Another segment which you spoke about is rooftop solar financing. I'm proud to say that we are pioneers in that segment in India. I don't think anyone else had thought about it when we launched this product around 4 years back. Here we fund mostly industrial and commercial customers for energy saving, and the rooftop solar installations get financed by us. So here mostly the customer segment is such that they have a slightly more matured customer segment when they are looking at saving their energy cost. So that is when we fund them, and it's a fantastic, again, because the focus on renewable energy now, focus on rooftop solar financing. Government also is focusing on that a lot. So this is a business which we have started around 4-5 years back, and I think sky is the limit. We can do wonders in that business also.
Absolutely, well said. And how important is financial literacy for MSMEs, and what initiatives does EFL take to educate its customers?
See, financial literacy is one area which I always think that it is never taught formally to our kids also. If you talk about any professional, means I'm not talking about MSMEs here, even professionals, because you're talking about a doctor or an architect, still financial literacy is very important, because many times what happens is people don't know how to manage their finances. People don't know how should they invest the funds if there are excess funds available. Many times customers, I'm talking about MSME customers also, or professionals also, they don't understand their own balance sheets also. And they don't know what is being reflected in the balance sheet. They will just say that, please ask my chartered accountant. I don't know why my balance sheet looks like this. So there is a huge requirement for actually getting into financial literacy kind of a program. I don't think we have done too much about that because we do it slightly informally. But as I said earlier, when we actually meet the customer, many times it starts with consultancy kind of an approach, that why you are doing this. Many times we tell the customer that if your size is this, then why should you invest so much? Because it is too much, it is very high risk. So why should you get into that kind of risk? So that kind of financial consultancy helps the customers, and many times they are quite grateful that because you told us, we have not got into over borrowing, or we have not got into debt trap and all that. So we do it informally. I would want to do it formally, but it's a substantial effort generally. So that doesn't happen.
Every organization has limited bandwidth. How much can you keep on doing? Shilpa, I have time for two more questions. How do you think alternative financing models like peer-to-peer lending and fintech are impacting traditional MSME finance?
I think access to credit has definitely improved because of these kind of initiatives. So, but more so, these kind of initiatives right now are restricted to urban customer segment. So when you talk about, because fintechs, they have to rely on whatever data is available in the formal system. If the data is not available, the customer segment I was talking about, and that is very, very large part of the population, where data availability itself is a challenge.
Right.
So there, fintechs, they try to run some parallel assessment mechanisms and all that, but still there is a limitation for how much can be done there. But overall, access to credit has definitely improved because of fintechs, and some of them, they're doing wonderfully well. We have not got into that area because, as I said, we are a secured lender. We always look at some kind of a security when we are funding the customers. And in a way, we are a bit cautious lenders. So many of the fintechs, they expand the business very fast and they grow very fast. But we are not in that segment. But still, some of the fintechs in urban segment, they have done absolutely fantastic job.
And my last question to you, Shilpa, what role does government policy play in supporting MSME financing, and how have you aligned with some of these initiatives?
So there were multiple government initiatives. You take investment in plant and machinery. There used to be a subsidy available from the government. Currently, it is not available, but it used to be a capital subsidy, and that was almost 25% of the loan amount, and that was a huge benefit for the customer. So we were associated with SIDBI to offer these subsidies to the customer. So such initiatives are definitely helpful. There are multiple other initiatives for manufacturing MSMEs from the government. Like if you are setting up shop in some underdeveloped area, then there are ESOPs available, which are some tax holidays available, and all that is definitely helpful because employment also gets generated into those areas which are underdeveloped, and customers also are likely to invest more into those areas. So there are various such initiatives. You take example of rooftop solar. There, for residential rooftop solar installation, almost 35 to 40% subsidy is available from the government. So these kind of initiatives definitely help, and the funds get diverted to the required segment. So multiple such areas are there.
Very well said. And on that note, Shilpa, I just want to say, first, it was a pleasure to talk to you as a fellow member of the YPO. Thank you for speaking to me about Electronica Finance. I think I learned many new things from you about manufacturing MSMEs. You also spoke at some length about how you're supporting a lot of other smaller businesses as well. I loved your story about this lady from rural India who actually managed to do so much because of the loan and managed to get the flooring done in her house. Thank you again for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.